Today on Delicious Ambitious, we meet Debbie Moore. Debbie set up Pineapple Dance Studios in 1979 in an old pineapple warehouse in London's Covent Garden. Pineapple is now one of the world's premier dance centres. Along the way, Debbie also launched a range of pineapple clothing, became the first female chairman to float a company on the London Stock Exchange, and found the time to write some books. We asked Debbie how it all got started.
So I used to be a model. I started modelling when I was 15. I won a competition and the prize was a modelling course. So I was modelling in New York by the time I was 16 and had a wonderful life modelling. I came to London and we used to go to a local dance centre to do dance classes to keep in shape because there weren't any gyms or anything then. So there were models and dancers and actors. It was very overcrowded and quite small. Anyway, one day he decided he was going to turn it into a spa and announced on the Monday it would be closed by Friday, and it was a terrible thing. The dancers were on the street, so we got a petition together to try to stop it, and it wasn't going to happen. I got all the teachers' phone numbers and I knew we had to be in Covent Garden. Covent Garden was then quite derelict and there were lots of, because it used to be the fruit market area here, and so there were lots of derelict fruit warehouses. So this was a pineapple warehouse, hence the name. And so I just suddenly became inspired, found this building and opened about 6 months after the dance centre had closed down. So we opened in early '79 and at the time dancewear was really like school regulation dancewear. It was made of knitted nylon and it was in school uniform colours, kind of brown and navy and maroon and things, and so I'd watched the dancers customising their dancewear and cutting the legs higher and putting safety pins. So I thought, well, you know, what's needed is an exciting range of dancewear. And then there was only nylon lycra, shiny nylon lycra, and I thought it would be wonderful if we could have some sort of cotton lycra. So I went to DuPont and worked with them and developed cotton lycra, and we then started to have leotards and leggings and footless tights in the cotton lycra for the dancers in fabulous strappy styles with really high cut legs. And then I realized that this fabric was so wonderful that they could also, you know, have a little skirt to pop over the top or make a little crop top, and there from the dancewear range came the fashion range, and we really pioneered the whole look in the street. We were the first people to use lycra in streetwear. Up until then it had only been used in underwear.
How did you go from you know, working as a model and working out, I guess, in the dance studio to suddenly running a dance studio and a fashion company? How did you know what to do?
I was quite determined to do it and to work hard and whatever it took. I think that mostly as long as you are prepared to do that and you have the stamina and you also have the common sense, then anybody could achieve their dream. The business grew quite slowly, really. If I'd have known when I started how big the business, I would have been completely overwhelmed and daunted, but you don't, you just go along, and it grew and we always responded.
Now, in 1982, you launched the company onto the London Stock Exchange. Can you tell us about that experience?
As the years went by, the demand grew and grew. So to begin with, we just had 2 floors and 6 studios, and then we needed the next floor and the next floor, and then the building next door, and we were growing. We had so many dancers coming over from America saying, we've got nothing like this. And there's nowhere that mixes all the disciplines. You know, ballet was uptown, modern was way downtown, nearly in the river, and you know, the rehearsal rooms were midtown, and there was nobody that was mixing them all up. So they said, and I was overstretched by then. So I went public for the specific reason to raise the money so that I could open in New York and then build this whole bridge across the world for dancers.
It's interesting because I think there's that photograph of you standing on the floor of the stock exchange, surrounded by men in suits, and there you are, a woman in your skirt, and really making a statement. And I guess
it was interesting though, because that was 1982, and that's what we wore. You know, we wore leggings and rah-rah skirts and things. And I didn't really think it was going to make such an impact. I mean, we were just going public that day. And so we were the front page news, and we were top of the news and everything. And I didn't even realise then I was the first woman ever to take her company public.
After going public, Debbie bought some real estate in the up-and-coming area of Soho to house her New York studios.
It was a valuable piece of real estate, and we were very successful. We were straight away in Women's Wear Daily, we were in Bloomingdale's and Macy's with the clothes, and really the talk of the town, and all the top people came to the studios, which were wonderful. Then we were offered 4 times for the building, 4 times what I paid for it, and I said, it'll be times 20 if you know, shortly. Well, the return on the studios were profitable, but not this kind of profitable yet. And so return on investment, shareholders, etc. So I lost that battle. We lost our studios, 6 years after we started. And so at that point I decided to buy the business back because it was too difficult always having to get permission from your institutional investors, etc., when you need to think. If you're an entrepreneur, it's very difficult to have that sort of, it slows you down. So I bought it back in '89.
So was it difficult to buy back the company?
Over the years, Pineapple had built up acquisitions and had become quite a big group. So I bought out the actual Pineapple side of the business. It was fairly difficult, but I had good advisors. It became a little difficult afterwards for a while because when I first bought it back, I was really undercapitalized, and it was a recession hitting around that time. Also, a few competitors who'd seen all the razzmatazz had opened up. But one of our brands that we have is Survival of the Fittest, which we established at that time because against all odds we seemed to survive it all and see off the competition and actually not just be an 80s phenomena, which is what we were, but now, in 2006, we're actually much bigger and far more successful and have far more dancers than we ever did then.
So what's been the secret of building up that Pineapple brand, do you think?
We're permanent, we're all constantly reinventing ourselves, renewing, breathing new life all the time, offering new styles of dance, and also keeping the clothes young and fresh. Because I was a model with no qualification, I left school at 15 and modeling, and then I started this business. So many people were fascinated as to how, that they'd like to start their business, but they haven't got the confidence, or their husband won't let them, or all these letters I used to get, and how did I manage? And so I thought, why don't I do a how-to book, a how I did it book, and the obstacles that happen and that you overcome, and how just because your husband doesn't want you to do it, it doesn't mean he's still, if you do, or you don't, he might still run off with the secretary, so you might as well do what you want to do,
And I believe you had a very famous endorsement from the Prime Minister Thatcher at the time.
Yes, I always found Lady Thatcher has always been an inspiration, because it was 78 when I first started trying to get this business together, and to have a woman Prime Minister was very inspirational and encouraging, that if that can be achieved, then I'm sure you can achieve running your own business. And she was she was very good at encouraging women in business. And so when I wrote the book, I sent her a copy and she immediately said, thank you, I'll dip into it. And then she sent me another letter to say, I didn't just dip in, I read it from cover to cover, and it's an inspiration to all women who want to be in business. So we just asked if we could use her quote. One of the biggest challenges I had to face was with my daughter. When she was 10, she had a spinal hemorrhage. We were a public company then, and she was rushed into hospital and operated on, and after that she could only blink and speak. So it was 24-hour bedside for a long time. And you know, I had a great team of staff, and because I was chairman of a public company, I couldn't let it be known what was happening. Shareholders, you know, to consider. So my office was quite near my home, fortunately, and so I was at home, and then my PA or whoever would say, oh, she's in a meeting, she'll call you back, and you know, deal with my correspondence, and then come twice a day. Well, I did that. Sometimes I would call people back, they'd take over sitting with Laura. So we managed to get through it all, even though, you know, emotionally it was so hard. You know, the prognosis wasn't very good. And it became a sort of parallel career, trying to find, because it hadn't been diagnosed correctly, and trying to find the best people. So eventually found this team in New York, specialising in that area. So we went out there and the embolisation was successful. You know, but unfortunately it's left her partially paralysed, and she's been in a wheelchair ever since. We all, you know, technology's catching up, so we never could give up trying new things. And she's wonderful. I mean, she's been, you know, a TV presenter, restaurants, and you know, she's very bright, and she doesn't give up, you know. So one day I'm quite sure that she'll actually be able to walk. That's the plan.
What have you learned along the way that you'd like to share with other young women or aspiring entrepreneurs?
I have an interesting philosophy. I suppose it's because my daughter was so ill, and you know, the prognosis was that she wasn't going to survive. I think that when the tax man gets heavy and the bank manager's blowing at me and things are going a bit wrong, it's not life or death, you know. And I do have a very sort of calm philosophy about it all, and I don't get myself all. I think you know, there's always a way through things, but my tip is, in order to do that, you need the stamina, and you must look after your health. I still always, no matter how bad it gets sometimes, I think I'm so fortunate to have such an interesting life and be surrounded by wonderful people. People ask me in business, what's your exit plan? And I said, well, probably to drop dead in Studio One when I'm about 90.
In the middle of a vigorous dance class.
Yes.